Okay, let's continue. We started some Chadash. Look at it to get it quickly from the top. You have it. Chadash. So the Fidige Rebbe reveals a novelty. Leila Mata Lamaila, that the statement in the Zohar is not talking about two addresses, Ben Mekamis Nifradim, two separate reaches, above without end and below without Tachlis. Not so. Kim B'Mokim Echad. That's the Chiddush. It's in the same place. The Ephah. Where is that place? About in Sof. In Ein Sof, V'loy Ein Tchila, which we explained in the next mime. We don't, why in the Kabbalim refer to the revelation as the light without end, rather than without beginning, as he'll explain in the next mime. So he explains that these Beis Madreges L'mayla L'mata Mata. And then the Rebbe asked, how could there be two dargis in Ein Sof? And he answers by bringing the Pirush Admar Zaken. That Pirush Oir, on the one hand, Oir Ein Sof does not mean Oir that comes from Ein Sof, but rather Oir Shu Atzmo Ein Sof Amiti. That's on the one hand, that the Oir Ein Sof itself is truly infinite. Of a B'chol Zed, notwithstanding that, it's still Nikra Oir Sof Sim Tafresh Chav Zayin, as he says there in the Rebbe Marash. Of course, it's still the Alter Rebbe. That it's still called Oir, it's an expression. And we explain what that means to the best of our ability, and that is as follows. I'll repeat it again. So this you can understand it, not just say words, and maybe explain it to somebody else too. The big shaila is how could there be two madregas? So we're suggesting that the nekuda is that what is this darga? This is to translate it. What does it mean? What's this level? What is it? It's the eight l'chayr. I'm suggesting this. I put it around a bit. I got people said it seems correct, so we might submit it to one of the publications for people to learn. And that is that it's the Eibishter thinking and considering himself. So on the one hand, it's machshav voisai, it's a tzir, it's a giloi, it's a achlatas atzmos. We're applying a term that applies to us, but that's was God's decision. And the root of it all is because nisave liyis barach diribetachtonim. That's the foundation. So as we said many times, let's go backwards. Since nisave kadosh baruch liyis barach diribetachtonim, so there's basically three fundamental novelties that cannot exist. Nothing can, only atzmos, that God has decided to give rise to. The first thing is the biggest chiddush, otherness, whatever that's going to be. That's a tremendous, and that is the most dramatic, impossible chiddush that atzmos gives rise to the notion, and then it's actually going to realize that and implement it, and we're still going to struggle with, as the whole Chassidus deals with after it's all happened, still ein leid milvada, nothing changed. That is impossible to fully grasp for us, and only to be experienced when Mashiach comes. But at any rate, this ava is that otherness, and the second critical thing is what is the nature of this otherness? Is it's going to be a binary system with the alien and the tachten, because he wants to dir betachtonim, and that's the essential source of Ein Sof L'mayla, den Katz and Mata, den Tachlis and Eiris and Kalim and Eiris Bligvul, and all the endless interplay between these two contrasting, in the words of the Fidige Rebbe, Hefresh Godel B'neim. So the Rebbe asked, how can there be Hefresh Godel B'neim already in the Ein Sof? So we're suggesting that since it's Eir, and Eir means a Giloi, and what is the Eibishter saying overtly there? The Eibishter is considering himself. So zero in on that, what that statement means. On the one hand, it's a gilui, but it's sosum vanilla, because God can't be defined, and that consideration defies all description. On the other hand, since the Eibishter has given rise to the union of consideration of gilui of Eir, already there is factored into not gilui. That's all part of dirib tachtoinim, elyon and tacht. So Hefresh Godel B'neim, with the Hefresh Godel, since already in this darga, it's in Yeshal Gilui, God's consideration, Machshava, that already means it could not be Gilui. If you say yes, then yes implies no. So already there's the two inyanim. This is the explanation. If there's a better one, please offer it. Otherwise, we're just repeating words endlessly that we don't understand what they mean, which is the whole Maamre. The fulcrum, it all revolves around that. It all around, if we can grasp and explain to yourself and to somebody else how it's a gilui and it's sosum v'nelim and there's two dargas, they're hefresh, god b'neim. If you explain that, then you got the point. That's the point of the mind. We did our best, now it's up to you. As it goes on to say the third paragraph, even though it's in one darga, still the chiddush is hefresh and god b'neim. Now that doesn't apply in higher dargas. Which means God could consider or not consider. It's all one. Shef Shalom is it. Given the Hainu Hach, every possibility is the same in Yechelis. It can't be Kefesh Gadol B'neim. Only where there's a distinct Gilui. So Gilui means not Gilui too. There could be not Gilui. What's the darga we're speaking of? Stim b'dachol stimin. Now we're not going to repeat this whole arichas, but he brought from the Mittel Rebbe Teres Chaim two pirushim. The koyal antuchad is this another just articulation. Stim b'dachol stimin that we say in Pasach Aliyah of antuchad ilamato to a separate level. The Fidig Rebbe equates l'mayla the cats with stim b'dachol stimin. We had a shtickle shaylet, makes sense if it's connected with Antuchad, but if it's a lower darg, it's not. The Rebbe said it is. And that we learned Barichas and made a page, a sheet to try and make it easier to understand. The end result was, it came out, the two Perushim of the Mittel Rebbe, one is Mefarish, the other one. One's Bechlola, says second one's Beprotius. See there for the Arichas. This all parallels Makif Ter Yosher of Er Chayzer. Now, can someone tell me why it's called Er Chayzer? Okay, Er Yosher Mele, it's direct, it's internalized. Why is it called Er Chayzer? Hebrew language, Er Chayzer, rebounding light. What's the Er Chayzer and why is it called Er Chayzer? Which level is the Er Chayzer? Mile or mata? Pardon? Mile. Correct. So why? Yes. Why is it called Er Chayzer? We don't have definitive answers, not spelled out. We suggested things along the way. So what do you say? Usually it's the opposite pirush. Er Chayzer usually means what the Rav gets back mamish from the Talmud. Here the Talmud's not getting anything in the first place. So what's Er Chayzer?
The Rav experience, the Talmud doesn't experience.
Okay. That could be. Yeah. Oh, Chayzer means that what does the Talmud get though? He gets nothing. So don't show up. What does he get? He gets the Moshel and Chiddur. What's Chayzer is perennially, it just never penetrates is what the Moshel is about, what really the Nimshel is. That's the Chayzer. Don't know, whatever. But certainly, Er Chayzer means it's clearly in the flow that it's within the mashpia, it's within the Rav. He's saying that really it's his own idea and remains forever his own idea and cannot be conveyed. So, Ein begeder giloi, but kol zeh poel. What does he have by those words? So if it's not begeder giloi, so then what's the point of it? The answer is it's poel. Give me a moshel. Give me another Moshe for Er Chayzer, for Makif HaKadim, Makif HaRachi, which he didn't bring his words yet. That it's Makif HaRachi, but it's pearl tremendously. Even more than Makif HaKadim. What's the other Moshe he gives? For Makif HaRachi, Makif HaKadim.
It says Bayis and Levush.
Bayis and Levush. So a house protects a person even more than the Levush. So it's distant from him. It's not internalized. It transcends all the dwellers equally. It's not tailored to anybody. No one internalizes the house. But it's pale, huh?
In the minor, we don't know it's not clear what that is in the nimshal in the minor.
It is. He wants to say, okay, so let's spell it out. What he wants to say is the whole point is to be masbir, that the soldier gets it in order to win the war. So he's a pale mamish. He's getting tremendous koichas atzmim, in the face of which no managid can stand. So that's the bias that protects and creates that tremendous effect, more critical in a way than clothing. Clothing you need to interact with others, but just to survive, you need a house and the elements you can. It's not just survive also. Bias is the etzim, that's the, whatever, all the biurim chassidus. But anyway, that's what we want to say. It's pale. That's why he stressed that when he gave the moshel v'adarabah, more than the levushim, and from harsher things, the elements. Continuing now in the Rebbe's Ksaviyat Kodesh, she explains there in Avodah it's Nasa. Both Nasa and Nishma are Rotzen. But tell me the difference. Nishma is this is two dargis and Rotzen. Nishma is what? He makes his will like the Eibishter. Nasa complete bitl. Makivarachek, it all adds up. She'eni Giloi. It's not Giloi consciously, I want this. Nishma means I'll make my Rotzen your Rotzen. Nasa is with no Rotzen at all, complete bitl. But Bir Yoser, in more explanation, is in Maamre of the Rabbi Marash, which we learned in detail. Then the beautiful marshal of the Bir of the Baal Shem Tov, Keser Shem Tov. It's interesting that Rebbe Ksaviyat Kodesh puts where it is, Yud Daled. Page Yud, entry Daled, I think. Like it's different paragraphs there. So you tell me what's the story of the Baal Shem Tov, that what's in the code, that the king wanted what?
Brings to go and come back.
In order to achieve, the key word, Tainug Yeseder. He has Tainug with him. But the Tainug Yeseder, which the Maim is Masber, which there's no higher Tainug, which is a Tainug HaPoshet, not the Tainug HaMurkav. He brings the in from the Rebbe Rashab. What's the difference between Tainug HaMurkav and Tainug HaPoshet? Somebody, Bekitzer, briefly. Murkav means, first of all, what?
Composite.
A composite. So the light Tainug HaMurkav means having
pleasure from something else.
Something else. Tainug HaPoshet means there is something else. There's the child. Bechitzonius. But what's happening? Tainug HaPoshet.
An expression of you. That's where the.
It's because in him is me. Not I've gained something that I'm enjoying. That expresses me. Very different Tainug. Not through that I'm having a good time. That's what's responsible for the delight, the pleasure, the tainug. No, that unlocks the biggest tainug within self. And what's the biggest tainug within self? That a person exists. Pleasure of being. So that was the Moshe of the Baal Shem Tov. There was a Chacham Echad. What did he do? The Shanis Ksus. He changed garments and language. And that the Baal Shem Tov gives that whole beer to explain, continuing the Rebbe Ksaviyat Kodesh, Sipurim Gashmim, the stories of the Torah, which ain't a nikar klal. You don't see any chachma there. And he's speaking the child's language, he's completely forgotten the language of the palace. When this is explained, why we need the Shleisha Yomim. Why do you need Asiyah? In Asiyah, the Tainug, we've compromised that. We've compromised the Tainug. The end of the answer is that the Etzem Tainug is in Asiyah. When the kid comes back and there's no Machshover and Dibur connection, just Inyan Atzmi, that's revealed after Asiyah. And that's the Sipurim of Torah. We're clear on that. This is the core heart of the mind, but it's the Kudah. This explains Rimzei Torah is the Magid's Torah. It's called Rimzei Torah there. That's the name of the sefer, the section. What do you need Asiya for? And the answer is because that's where the Tainug Atzmi lies. Dafka because there's no Giluyim. We're not sharing anything experientially in common other than we are one, you're my child. Now, 14, he makes a note here, but he only addresses it in the Maimer of Beshalach, which we're learning. We're going to start learning. Here, the Fidik only mentions constantly Mashalim and not riddles. Why not? To explain later, because it's not just conceals, but it goes the other way. It contradicts. And finishing now the Ha'oreh, in the Ksaviyat Kodesh from Rebbe, Gam b'mashpia hanela mikol rayim. Even by the mashpia, it's not articulated. This is a dargah which is higher than kol rayim, any idea. Huka chosen, that's the Maimon of the Rebbe Rashab. What's 18? What's 18? That's 18. That's what? That's the 18, page 18, I don't know. And that stands for an element Klorain.
No, he says he writes in the footnote over here.
No, that's the next 18. It's not that 18. That's their 18. This 18 in bracket Rebbe wrote. The next line, betchilas, he crossed out the word betchilas. Okay, so then the tainug believe tnuah, that it's a atzmistic a tainug and no tnuah. And again, it's the mashal of the child. There's no tnuah, there's no conversation. We're just together again. We're one. So Eitzer, it sends us to the Tzemach Tzedek, Eratore, Ekev, Tov Kuv Zayin. It's not the pshat we're going to get the schar then. But Shemisakev Adata, all the Avodah of Yidden till now, the story that Pinchas ben Yair, the people left with him barley for 7 years, and he gave him back the whole Eitzer, literally, the whole store, the whole silo. So we get even greater schar, as it were, Giluyim, meaning all the Gilui invested in us, is the Avodah of previous generations. So I'm going to tell you, Lechayda, this supports something that I suggested also, although I don't know. We're going to learn, I mentioned to you now, Tuvshim Membeis, the Rebbe says there like this. It's not just in Membeis, other Bosi, Legani, Maamorim of these Prokim, as I recall. The Hainu, like this. He says, he speaks at the Eitzim, he says, in Avodah, it's serving the Eibush to be with Yerushalayim. What's Yerushalayim? Because the Gemara says, Hakel b'dei Shemayim, chutz Yerushalayim. God has everything, except for Yerushalayim. And the Gemara brings the pasuk Oitzrei. That's his Oitzrei. In other words, what does he amass? What does he have to gather, which he doesn't have already? It's our Yerushalayim. So the whole point of the Oitzrei, the Eibush is giving us, what do you mean we're giving him? What's going on here? Well, I'll tell you later, the two Biyurim. One of the Biyurim was suggesting, we don't think it just seems supported by this Vatal Tzemach Tzedek. What's the Eitzah the Eibishter gives us? He's talking all the Yerushalayim, the Avodah, the previous days. It's all invested in us. You follow what I'm saying? That's a Tzemach Tzedek. He says it clearly that the Eitzah that we're getting, the reward in the end, is not just for the current Avodah, but it's for... Now, this Eitz has been given to us not just as reward, but in order to achieve the victory, right, in the battle. L'chayra comes out from the Tzemach Tzedek that the pshat is correct, that the Eitz that he gives us is the Yerushalayim, the tremendous connections, and Avodah Atzmim and Giluyim, Atzmis the Kamshachas, the Yidden and Megala throughout all the generations. We're empowered with their Avodah. That's a true vod, because Morning Chassidus, we are like a Nanas Hagabe Anok. We're like the midget on the shoulders of the giant. It sees further than the giant does, but only because he's on the giant's shoulders. This is the word of Eitzer. So the Chayr is gehalten, that Pirush. To write that properly. So concluding Hemshech, in the Atayra, Hemshech, Sifyud, Aleph, Deir Achadoir, I guess it begins with the words Deir Achadoir. Okay, let's begin now. We reviewed the whole Maimer already, and we just read this. Now we're going to go to the next Maimer, the Hemshech, which was going to explain, as we were just told, Why the Mekubalim refer to Hashem's Gilui Zeir Ein Sof and not Ein Leitchila, which is the Chera Haya that's coming in a moment. Let's begin.